Most people believe their daily decisions are personal, private, fully conscious. But here's a quiet statistic that rarely gets attention. More than 70% of what people watch, read, or click online is influenced by recommendation systems before a conscious choice is made. Not forced, not controlled, influenced. You didn't wake up planning to see exactly what appeared on your screen today. Yet, it happened anyway. AI doesn't read your thoughts, but it often predicts your next move more accurately than you expect. And that changes how you should think about choice itself. Think about how your day actually begins. Not the ideal version, the real one. You check your phone. Notifications appear instantly. Feeds refresh without effort. Suggestions load before you ask for them. Nothing feels aggressive. Nothing feels suspicious. It feels normal, familiar, comfortable. That's why it works. AI sometimes nudges us. It doesn't control us. It doesn't need to. It only needs to reduce friction for certain actions and increase it for others. The human mind naturally follows what feels easiest. Andrew Ng once described AI as the new electricity, not because it's dramatic, but because it works invisibly, powering systems people rarely think about. Electricity doesn't tell you how to live. It simply changes what becomes possible. AI does the same with attention. It doesn't decide for you. It quietly reshapes the environment in which decisions happen. Subscribe to Mind for AI, click the bell icon, and watch till the end to stay ahead of the systems shaping your decisions. Now imagine a moment most people recognize instantly. It's late evening. Your energy is lower than you admit. You tell yourself you'll scroll for a minute to relax. The screen lights up. A recommendation appears, oddly specific, something that matches your mood. You pause. You feel a small pull. You think, that looks interesting. That feeling isn't random. It's the result of patterns you've already created, without noticing. Before AI-driven systems dominated daily life, boredom had weight. You felt it. You sat with it. If you were tired, you stopped. Today, boredom is filled immediately. AI doesn't create boredom. It fills it efficiently. And efficiency matters when the brain is tired. The more predictable your state, the easier it becomes to guide attention without resistance. Another familiar moment. You open an online store without any intention to buy. You scroll casually. Then a suggestion appears, recommended for you. You hesitate. Your inner voice says, I didn't plan this, but it makes sense. That sentence explains modern influence better than any technical definition. AI doesn't convince you. It aligns with what already feels reasonable. Before recommendation systems, discovery required effort. You searched. You browsed deliberately. You chose. After AI, discovery comes to you. Filtered, ranked, prioritized, and timed. Not because the system understands your emotions, but because it recognizes behavioral signals correlated with attention, fatigue, and repetition. Late at night, behavior changes in predictable ways. Reaction time slows, judgment softens, attention narrows. You scroll faster, you hesitate less. The system doesn't know you're tired, but it sees the signals. Faster scrolling, shorter pauses, longer sessions. These signals feed prediction models, not to manipulate, but to optimize engagement. This is where many people misunderstand influence. They expect it to feel dramatic or forceful. In reality, influence feels like familiarity, comfort, convenience. It feels like your own idea. That's why it's effective. AI doesn't override your will. It slightly increases the probability of one action over another. Compare life before and after AI-driven feeds became normal. Before, attention drifted naturally. After, it's gently guided. Before, stopping required no effort. After, stopping feels like friction. Before, choice was active. After, choice often feels automatic. Not worse, just different. And difference compounds. Here's an uncomfortable truth. The system improves because of you. Every click teaches it. Every pause trains it. Every scroll refines its predictions. You're not just consuming AI. You're participating in a feedback loop. And most people never realize that loop is forming around them. You might think, I can tell when something is influencing me. But influence rarely announces itself. It blends into routine. It wears the mask of convenience. The mind assumes familiarity equals choice, but familiarity is often engineered. Pause for a moment. Think about the last recommendation you followed. Did you actively choose it, or did it simply appear at the right time? That single question changes how you view your screen. This isn't about fear. AI doesn't control behavior. It nudges. It adjusts probabilities. It removes friction from some actions and adds it to others. Over time, those micro-adjustments shape habits. Habits shape routines. Routines shape identity. When people say, "I don't know where my time goes," this is often why. Not addiction, not weakness. Invisible guidance layered on predictable human behavior. The system doesn't need bad intentions to be influential. It only needs consistency. Imagine your attention like water flowing downhill. AI doesn't push the water. It reshapes the slope. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. One day the direction feels natural, even though it wasn't always that way. Another everyday example. You open a video platform intending to watch one thing. The next suggestion starts automatically. You didn't choose it consciously, but it's already playing. Autoplay isn't persuasion. It's the removal of decision friction. And friction matters more than motivation. Here's the subtle, psychological shift this creates. When choices are easy, reflection decreases. When reflection decreases, habits strengthen. When habits strengthen, identity follows. None of this happens suddenly. It accumulates quietly. That's why most people don't feel controlled, because they aren't. They feel comfortable, efficient, guided. Comfort rarely triggers resistance, but comfort without awareness has a cost. Not dramatic, not immediate, gradual. The cost is fewer deliberate moments, fewer intentional pauses, fewer chances to step outside prediction. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you stop and ask why you're clicking? Not what you're clicking, why? That question alone weakens invisible influence, because the moment behavior becomes conscious, prediction accuracy drops. AI thrives on autopilot. It struggles with awareness. This is the line most people never see. Not control versus freedom, but autopilot versus intention. Another hidden feature most users never notice is timing. Recommendations don't just appear, they appear when resistance is lowest. After work, late at night, during emotional downtime. The system doesn't know your feelings, but it recognizes patterns that correlate with vulnerability. This doesn't make AI evil. It makes it efficient. Systems are optimized for engagement, not well-being. That distinction matters. The human brain evolved for environments with friction, waiting, effort, scarcity. Modern AI removes friction at scale. When friction disappears, self-regulation weakens. Not because people lack discipline, but because the environment changed faster than awareness did. This is why people feel mentally tired without knowing why. Not because thinking increased, but because decisions never stop. Micro-decisions pile up. The brain seeks the easiest path. AI provides it. Here's the quiet danger. When everything feels chosen, nothing feels questioned. And unexamined choices shape life more than dramatic ones. You're not losing control. You're losing noticing. And that's the most important distinction. Because once you notice, the system changes. Right now, most people are reacting, not choosing. Scrolling, not deciding. Responding, not directing. Not because they want to, but because invisible systems made it easy. The real question isn't whether AI influences the mind. It's how long influence stays invisible. And here's the cliff you're standing on. If these hidden AI features continue shaping attention without awareness, habits will keep forming quietly. Time will keep disappearing subtly. And choices will keep feeling personal even when they're gently guided. But there is a way to step outside this loop. Not by rejecting technology, not by fighting algorithms, not by extreme rules. There is a simple shift, grounded in how the brain actually works, that weakens AI's influence almost immediately. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's where the solution begins. If this shifted how you see even one moment of your day, Tap like and comment aware below. The solution to hidden AI influence is not avoidance. It's not deleting apps, rejecting technology, or trying to out-discipline algorithms. Those approaches fail because they fight behavior instead of understanding it. The real solution begins with a quieter shift, changing how decisions are made, not what tools are used. AI influence weakens the moment behavior stops running on autopilot. Here's the critical truth. AI systems don't predict identity. They predict patterns, repetition, timing, speed, sequence. When behavior follows familiar rhythms, prediction becomes accurate. When behavior becomes deliberate, prediction confidence drops. AI doesn't lose power. It loses certainty. And uncertainty is where human agency lives. Tristan Harris, former Google design ethicist, explained it simply. Modern systems don't manipulate people directly. They shape the environment in which attention flows. Attention is measurable. Reactions are trackable. Time spent is optimizable. AI doesn't ask what you want. It learns what you do when effort is lowest. That distinction explains almost everything. This is where neuroscience matters, and it matters more than motivation. When the brain is rested, the prefrontal cortex remains active. This region handles judgment, impulse control, and long-term thinking. But under fatigue, stress, or emotional overload, this control system downshifts. The brain relies more on automatic responses. This isn't weakness, it's efficiency. The brain conserves energy by choosing familiar paths. AI doesn't exploit this process. It aligns with it. Recommendation systems don't read emotions. They detect behavioral signals correlated with reduced resistance. Faster scrolling, shorter pauses, longer sessions. When resistance drops, nudges become more effective. That's why influence feels stronger when you're tired. Not because AI becomes smarter, but because decision effort becomes expensive. Pause for a moment. Think about the last time you stayed longer than planned on a platform. Was it because you consciously chose to? Or because stopping required more effort than continuing? That difference explains how influence actually works. Here's the shift most people never make. Restoring friction. Not restriction, not denial, just friction. Friction slows behavior enough for awareness to re-enter. AI thrives on smoothness. Continuous feeds, automatic transitions, default settings. The smoother behavior becomes, the more predictable it is. This leads to the first micro-actionable, intentional friction. Add small pauses before automatic actions. Disable autoplay. Turn off non-essential notifications. Require one extra step before opening high-engagement apps. These changes don't reduce content. They disrupt momentum. Behavioral research shows that adding even 2 to 3 seconds of delay can reduce impulsive actions by over 20%. Not through discipline, through interruption. Friction doesn't fight AI. It removes the conditions AI relies on. Smooth behavior creates reliable data. Interrupted behavior introduces noise. Noise weakens prediction accuracy. When actions stop flowing automatically, systems lose confidence. And confidence is what drives influence. Now notice something subtle. When friction increases, choice reappears. Not dramatic choice, quiet choice. The kind that asks, do I actually want this right now? That question alone changes behavior more than motivation ever could. The second micro-actionable is short-term awareness tracking. Not journaling, not optimization, just noticing. For one day, observe moments when actions happen without intention. No judgment, no correction. Simply notice when you click, scroll, or watch without deciding. Neuroscience shows that awareness alone activates executive control circuits. The brain begins flagging patterns automatically. Studies consistently show that behavior changes once it's observed. This isn't mindset, it's biology. Conscious attention alters neural activation. When behavior becomes visible, automatic loops weaken. AI nudges lose effectiveness the moment they're noticed. Influence relies on invisibility. Now ask yourself honestly, did you feel a nudge recently? Or did you just recognize one? That recognition is not passive. It's active resistance without effort. AI systems struggle when behavior stops being unconscious. They adapt quickly, but not instantly. Awareness creates a temporary advantage that belongs entirely to the human mind. Think of AI like a chess engine trained on common openings. It doesn't control your moves. It predicts likely ones. When you pause, slow down, or choose unexpectedly, prediction confidence drops. The engine recalculates. That recalculation window is where autonomy exists. This is where the identity shift begins. Not from user to rebel, not from tech-dependent to tech-free, but from reactive participant to conscious chooser. From someone who responds to prompts to someone who decides timing. Timing matters more than content. Most people believe freedom comes from avoiding influence. In reality, freedom comes from recognizing influence early. Once influence is visible, it loses its subtle power. AI doesn't overpower awareness. It depends on its absence. Another overlooked truth. AI is not the strongest force shaping behavior. Habit is. AI simply rides habits efficiently. When habits change, influence weakens automatically. That's why deliberate humans remain difficult to model. AI thrives on repetition. It struggles with intention. This doesn't mean humans outsmart machines. It means humans remain unpredictable when they choose deliberately. Intention introduces variability. Variability reduces confidence. Reduced confidence limits influence. Now imagine using AI systems consciously, letting recommendations assist, not decide, letting tools support, not steer. This isn't balance through restriction. It's balance through awareness. The system still functions, but it no longer defines behavior. You don't need to disappear from technology. You need to stop being invisible inside it. Because invisible behavior is predictable behavior. The moment you pause, the moment you question timing, the moment you choose deliberately, the system adapts to you, not the other way around. That's the real solution to hidden AI influence. Not resistance, not fear, not avoidance. Awareness plus friction. Those two elements change everything. If this changed how you see your screen, like the video, share it with someone who scrolls on autopilot, and subscribe to Mind for AI. And now reflect honestly. Do you think AI truly shapes your decisions? Or does awareness change the game completely? Comment below.